Welcome back to BLOCKTV. It's time now for Traders Take, and through a weekend that has seen a tumultuous run for Bitcoin, with it breaking up into the 7,800 mark, dipping back down to the low 7,000s. Now somewhere in the middle. It doesn't seem to be able to find a clear direction or ground. We turn now to our technical analyst from New York, Joe Saz, here to help us make sense of a volatile marketplace. Joe, help us break it down for us, make some sense here in all this chaos.
Yeah, well, pretty much we hit my 7,600 target with the expectation to hit 78, which we pretty much did, and that was the danger zone where I was thinking it's probably time to start setting up some stops, and 75 is where I did for a number of accounts, and right now obviously we're sitting pretty low here at 74.26. We have reacted pretty positively to a support area in the 7,000s. Like everything right now to me is still bearish. All right, the fact that we're even sitting in this territory is bearish to me. But I think that there was a lot of support, and here we have on a 15-minute chart a ton. Like it was a pretty crazy wild night last night. There was a lot of volume, and a ton of it was in the sellers. Now, what we had was a ton of sell volume, and even breaking this down, which I did to a 1-minute chart, I noticed that still the majority of the volume is in the sellers. And this is usually a bad thing, but keep in mind, this is at the bottom of the, near the bottom, right, of the run. So the fact that selling is now happening in this, the nature of the selling has changed from dumps to, FOMO selling. I'm more inclined to think that this run, as bearish as I might feel and as bearish as a position as we may be in, I'm not overly concerned just yet. I'm probably going to get concerned below 6,000 is probably where it's going to really kick off. But until then, I think it's 7,300 held barely. I mean, we fought so hard for so long, and we fought our way out of 7,300. So I think as long as we keep that up, then I'm going to stay bullish and assume that this transition is moving us up a bit further, back above 78, back above 76, probably to 8K. But I'm not really ready to make that assumption just yet. Right now, I'm in hardcore day trade scalp mode because of the Bybit competition. I'm just trying to get in and out of every short-term trade that I can. As far as a longer-term picture, let's take a quick look at the daily. This horizontal line is where we bottomed out before having that massive pump. So it's interesting to me that we are starting to fight with this horizontal area. Before it, there really isn't anything. Before it, in this run, there isn't really much. Pretty much back here, let's see, where is it? Just around here. So we're not really sitting in a particularly strong support area. I think this is a little dangerous, but again, bulls were there at every price point. If bulls are going to be there at 14,000, 12,000, 11, 10, 9, then they're going to be here at 7.3. So I'm just curious to see when the bulls really step in, because I've been watching sellers just sell stacks and stacks of Bitcoin into support in the order book, right? So bulls will be throwing up a ton of Bitcoin in the limit buy section. And I've just been watching 50 packs, get dumped into the bulls, and bulls just keep showing up. They keep popping back up, and they keep throwing the orders in the book, and preventing the price from further downside. Now, that isn't what I'll want in a bullish stimulus package here. What I want is bulls to start, when they see sellers start stacking up with 70 packs and 80 packs and triple-digit sell walls, I want to see bulls come in and just annihilate that. And that's not what we've been seeing. So part of me feels like there's a little bit of a strategic play here, at the fact that they're refusing to let the price break below a certain point, but also the fact that we're not getting market buyers is scaring me a little bit, because you can only sit there and take it for so long. Other sellers are going to see that price isn't moving, and they're going to be more inclined to sell, and other bulls that otherwise would be showing support would be more likely to pull. So it's a little weird to me. I'm happy to see that we did show a ton of support here, but I'm not convinced just yet. I think we could have a little bounce a bit higher, but I think in coming days it's 76, 7,800 back on the table. But I mean, I'm not convinced that the bottom is in just yet.
Right. So I want to drill down to that, get the brass tacks here when you talk about a bottom, because there are so many. Once we bounce back out of that 6,000 range, back into the sevens, headed up to close to 7,800, and there was a lot of analysts coming out saying, that's it, the bottom's in. It might not be a smooth ride to the top, but definitely we've hit that bottom. You don't necessarily think that's the case, so where would you see a prospective bottom? Where's the analysis sort of suggest to you a prospective bottom might be now?
Yeah, I think right now my price target of 73 doesn't hold. I would say I'm probably I basically there's kind of a capitulation area that I'm waiting to expect. I think that we've gotten close to some fear type selling, FOMO selling, but it really hasn't done too much. It's definitely damaged the price, but a more capitulatory style selling, I'm probably expecting to start at around once we break 6,000. I think it's all over. I think 4,500 is right back on the table. I think I even think 1,000 is in the crosshairs. At that point, if we break down at this point in time, I think we can still get. I mean, the end of the month, which was what some people would expect to be a pretty big bullish candle. Normally, some people across the world get their paychecks at the end of the month. I mean, there should have been a flood of money pumping in the market. Do we have dollar cost averagers? I mean, it's really tough. I think that if things go below 6,000, then we're probably headed down to 45. Maybe not quickly, but we'll have to see what the nature of selling is like at that point in time. Right now, it has been bottom sellers. I do think it's sucker sellers, but if these sellers are selling right now and the price goes down to 45, then they're not as suckery as the people that sold at 10,000, well at 5,000, but they're also more suckery than the people that sold at 10.
I wonder as well, do you give any credence to the idea of December as a historic month for movements? I mean, analysis has come out that said in the last several years, December, either positive or negative, has seen over 30% movements in Bitcoin throughout the month in the last, I believe, since 2015 is the stats. Do you think we're likely to see a repeat of that? Like, do you expect December to be a volatile month either way, whether we're talking up or down?
Yeah, I would expect it to be at least a volatile month, but I'm not one of those people that's leaning bullish in particular for December. I mean, look at what happened last year. I remember everyone was like, basically holding their breath until Q4 2018, and it was Q4 2018 that annihilated the price. So I mean, historically, I think if you run it back, you have some pretty bullish times a year, but I mean, it's just not that reliable. So yeah, December, could be a volatile month. I think it will be. I don't know how high or low we'll go, but yeah, I'm definitely expecting this month and into next year. I think that there's a couple moving parts that might change the picture a little bit. I'm still curious about the climbing right case and see what happens there. I know January 2020 was all the speculation of the Tulip Trust and all this stuff opening up, and I'm just curious. I think that there might be a couple of more maybe along the lines of conspiracy theory external variables, but I think December is going to be a wild ride. I think January is going to be a wild ride, but the closer we get to the halvening, the more likely I am to assume that the wild part of the ride is going to be to the upside. And right now, I think it's volatile in either direction. Right now, it's really hard to call.
So, all right, there we said there's likely to be a lot of volatility happening in the next couple of months when it comes to Bitcoin. But there are some other coins out there that people are really drawing some attention to, and some analysts have some pretty wild predictions for. Let's start firstly with a personal favorite of yours, Joe, the good old XRP, which some XRP fans and analysts have come out and said they can see some pretty big movements in the charts coming up, and they think it might even outperform Bitcoin into the short and midterm. What are your thoughts? Let's maybe pull up a chart and take a look.
Yeah, so let's take a look at Ripple coin. Let's see here. So this is something that's really important. All right, this is called a dragonfly doji type formation. It's not a perfect formation, you never get them, but this is basically what it would indicate, and we got a lot of that reversal in. But we've now already started pulling back, and this means to me a continuation of I'm going to go on sequential on this one and say we've had our 1 to 4 candle pullback. We are now resuming the trend, and that means we're headed back into this wick space at the very least, and in all likelihood to make a lower low, and that's what I'm seeing here. If we would have kept climbing along this trend, and I even drew this out, you can see that this line is not nearly as steep as the other one. You know what I'm saying? So I drew this out, giving them some extra, wiggle room, and they're already pulling back from it. So I would say, to me, this is actually a bearish sign. This makes this 9 look more like a 1 to 4 candle pullback. It was a great trade. I mean, and just for the record, Asher, I did not touch this. Okay, as badly as I
I
wanted
would,
to trade this, this is a textbook trade. You have a
I would
9
never
buy
accuse you of touching XRP, Joe. You would never want to hear such things about you. But
Dude, I came this close, Asher. I was like, I have to long this. You never get a textbook scenario like this. You just don't. But it was like the best setup that I've ever seen. And of course it fucking had to be, excuse me, XRP. And so I was like, I really wanted to long this, but here we go. It would have been great. You would have made, let's see, assuming that I would have longed right around the open of the next candle, 21.8 cents to a high of 23. I mean, that would have been a fantastic long, but we're already pulling back. This is more of a 1 to 4 candle correction now, and a continuation of a downtrend. This wick space is all up for grabs, 20 cents, and I do believe lower lows are on the table. So I'm actually going to disagree with all those fancy analysts out there who are predicting XRP, all the XRP moon boys that are, seeing $1,000 XRP or whatever they're calling out.
All right, well, interesting one to watch for sure. Another coin that's drawn a little bit of attention now, we were just talking off camera about it, Litecoin, which has seen a bit of a plummet in the hash rate, seeming to put a bit of the network's future, I don't know if in doubt, but certainly some questions over the stability of the network and where it's headed. Joe, what are the charts showing us?
Yeah, so as far as the stability of the network and where it's headed, I would pretty much say to zero. The stability of the network is going to crash, and the price is going to crash as a result of that. And I strongly believe Litecoin could be one of the first top 10 cryptocurrencies that goes to zero. I honestly hope and I want to see it, but I also believe that it's likely to be the first one. Just looking at this on a wider scope here, I mean, this thing looks like it's well on its way to test its previous low. I mean, I'm not seeing any particular formation here. I'm just seeing this thing is just struggling badly. And obviously, if this thing's struggling badly, I would obviously have to feel a similar way about Bitcoin. We've started to top out. Looks like it's rounding out as a top. I think Litecoin's headed back down toward the low $40 range. We're at 47.80. I would say the low $40 range is really important for Litecoin. That would be a double bottom. But you can see we had a new low, new low, new low. We're just trending down, and a new low just about a week ago. So this thing does appear to be topping out, creating kind of a rounded top here. We were resisted by this long-standing horizontal resistance area, support area. So this is basically the equivalent of Bitcoin's 5,800 to 6,000 range. So, I mean, this thing's struggling to fight that. If it's any sort of indication of the wider market space, it would definitely make me scared. I'm not going to assume that yet, and I typically don't. I'm not one of those people that jumps on the bandwagon and says, oh, yeah, Litecoin or ETH or, maybe one other crypto that might be out there is front-running the market. But I would say that this is looking pretty ugly for Litecoin. If this is a local high, which is a significantly lower high than the previous one, then we're definitely on our way to be making lower lows. And I can easily see, I mean, like I said, the only reason I don't like Litecoin is because I think it's a total shitcoin, and it's like 94% or 97% copy paste of Bitcoin source code. It's basically almost the exact same thing with smaller block times. It's not silver to Bitcoin's gold. It really serves no purpose. I don't believe in redundancy in a space where you can have one cryptocurrency act as both a store of value and a medium of exchange. So Litecoin is just such trash to me, and I think speculators might be interested in buying it at lower price levels, but I still think, at the end of the day, that with the hash dropping as low as it is, and external variables such as that are going to cause this thing to plummet, and maybe get 51% attacked. Who knows? I just don't see a really bright future for Litecoin, especially if this, if we still have about 6 more months of bear in us until the halvening. I mean, I really think the halvening for Bitcoin is going to define a lot of what happens in Litecoin if we can draw new investors into the space.
I wonder with you, Joe, here, Litecoin was the darling of early to mid 2019, where it was outperforming most other assets in the space. to have such growth, then it didn't even, it started turning around even before its own halving. I believe it was back in August, if I remember correctly. And it's since gone, plummeted from there. We're seeing these issues now with the hash rate. I mean, does this indicate to you any worrying signs about the market as a whole? I mean, do you think that if a coin that was on such a rocketing trajectory can turn around like this, do you think that can happen to any coin out there in the space? Or do you think it's something specific to Litecoin?
I mean, to be honest, Asher, you should have seen 2017, 2018. I mean, it's this entire market cycle of a 300, 400% move or whatever. I don't know exactly the numbers from top to bottom of Litecoin, but that kind of stuff was happening in one 15-minute candle and then ending in the next. I mean, the fact that the market drew this on for as long as it did, that actually surprises me. I mean, there were tons and tons of much more wild swings. I mean, we saw a 40% move in Bitcoin, and it took about 3 or so weeks to a month for us to reverse that entire move. So that kind of stuff doesn't scare me as much in this space. That's the kind of stuff that we're expecting at all times. Volatility. That's like, we're volatility junkies. You know what I mean? If you're in trading crypto, you got a little volatility junkie in you. Now, it doesn't worry me. The thing that I'm thinking about is, well, price decreasing, hash decreasing. All right. Now, how do we, can this translate to something that we need to worry about in Bitcoin? And my interview with Harry Sudok basically calmed those fears, basically talking about the new mining units and how they output double the hash and require about half the electricity. So basically the concept there is that, yeah, there's going to be the people running a couple machines from their garage. They might have to unplug, but the competitive miners are still going to be there. So, I mean, I just don't see the same thing happening to Bitcoin, but obviously we have a ways to go to figure that out. And I think if this, the market continues to bleed on our way to the halvening, then I think Litecoin is probably going to be the ones that dies, sooner than later.
Well, it'll be one we'll have to watch closely to see how it does indicate for the rest of the market and what happens with the coin itself. But in the meantime, Joe Saz, our technical analyst from New York, I want to thank you so much for helping to break down this volatile market. So much to watch, so much to look out for. Are the Bears going to win it, or will the Bulls take charge again? Something we'll have to watch very closely. So make sure you stay with us at blocktv.com for all the latest in news and information. I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.